What is our topic today? Well, I'm going to tell you. It's catnip. Catnip on Health from the Inside Out. What does that have to do with anything? Well, it actually has a lot to do with your health. Believe it or not, catnip is good for many different uses. Yeah, it is. I just thought it was good for cats. And then this year for my garden, I read to plant it because it would help keep the squash bugs and a lot of other things out of my garden. So I planted it. And boy, is it hardy and healthy, and it grows abundantly. Catnip. Catnip is actually part of the cat of a species of called Philadia, and the cats are attracted to catnip. Yeah, the cats are, and they're attracted to this nepetalactone, which is a compound within it. And usually, it's only when it's crushed that they smell it and they want to roll all over it. But we're not going to talk about what cats think of catnip today. We're going to talk about medicinal uses of catnip. It's actually a mild sedative. Can you believe that? Yeah, it's used everywhere catnip is found. It can make a relaxing, soothing tea. And that's probably one of the main claims to fame is dry it. Dry it and make tea with it and mix it with some other herbs because it can be a little bit bitter, but it's supposed to be as effective as valerian. And valerian you hear about make it being a relaxing tea as well. Well, don't worry about it, guys. It's easy to grow catnip. You can grow it in your yard, and there you go. You have a relaxing tea. And because of its soothing and relaxing, which is called antispasmodic, it's also good for digestive upsets, nervousness. When it's all caused from tension, have a little catnip tea. Yeah, have you ever heard that one before? I bet you haven't. Oh, and that's not it. Well, this one can't be proven. Well, I don't know that it can't be proven, but there's not a lot of evidence. Back in the old days, catnip was smoked by asthmatics because it was supposed to help. I'm not going to give any credit to that one. First off, I don't think you should be smoking. Secondly, there's not a lot of evidence on that one. So that one I just stuck out there for you. It's an extra one. But it's also been used as a mild antibiotic. As a poultice, it's said to help prevent infection. It also has antifungal properties. And research shows that an extract of catnip was very active against staph infection and some fungi. Wow. Who would have thought? Catnip for staph infection? That's pretty interesting. Anyway, it's also got acclaimed as a diuretic, and it's supposed to reduce gas. You got gas? Go take a little catnip, right? It's been used to treat colds and upper respiratory infections, particularly where you're congested in your airways or your sinuses or your middle ear. But here's some cautions. If you're pregnant, there's not been any studies that say it can hurt you, but until there is a study, I wouldn't take it. And if you take a whole bunch of it, it might upset your stomach. But who's going to sit there and just completely gorge the catnip? I don't know who, but not me. But it's also an herb in salads. It was drunk in England as tea before Chinese tea was available. So back in England, where many of you may have roots from, they drank a little catnip at tea time. Yeah. Drink some catnip tea. But it's also can be a meat tenderizer, and it actually has a light yellow dye that comes from the catnip itself. So there's a few things that we need to that you could just think about when you think about catnip, but there is more. Yeah, let me get to my other article and I will tell you what else you need to know about catnip, because who would have ever thought there were so many uses for catnip? And by the way, growing it's super easy. Okay, the oils in catnip actually repel other pests, which we talked about. But did you know it's also mosquito repellent? And after reading that, I had to say, I think that's true, because all summer long, I really did not see mosquitoes in our yard. And there was a lot of catnip growing, so much that John told me I had to harvest every bit of it. So in our garage right now are bundles and bundles of catnip. So we have some catnip tea if you come this direction, if you want some. So as I said, the catnip, it settles you down, it de-stresses you, it relaxes your muscles, it calms your nerves, it eases restlessness, and it even fights insomnia. It's good for all of those things. If your kids if your kids are a little colicky or teething, it said that put a little catnip in the ice cube and let them suck on it, and it'll help relieve that pain. Yeah, who would have thought about that? I don't know. So anyway, it also says that for the teething babies, that you can make a batch of the tea and put it in a washcloth, and it will help those gums for those babies. So it will soothe their sore gums. And there's a lot more probably out there, but those are just a few things. And exactly too, also it eases muscle pain. So just know. Anyway, that's a little bit about catnip that you probably never thought of, or even thought an inkling in your mind that catnip would do anything but attract cats. How much have we lost from the old days when we knew our herbs, when we knew the things that grew out in the wild, and it was common knowledge, and now we know nothing. And yet one of these days, maybe we may be returning to those things. So, hey, you guys, come on in. Would you guys like some catnip tea? I don't hear any resounding yeses from the gallery.
I've got some hibiscus tea in the refrigerator, but I take my raccoon nip every day, and so I try to stay away from catnip as much as possible because I do not want to draw any cats anywhere near me. So I don't even draw them on the piece of paper, better yet, to me. So.
Well, I think once it's dry, they're not too interested. Our cats, it was so cold when I was harvesting it. Oh, because we had lots of catnip. And it was about 32, 33 degrees when I was out there harvesting the catnip, trying to get it all inside. And my hands got to where I'd already cut it off the stalk, and then we were bundling it together outside. And I finally told John, I said, I can't do this out here anymore. After a few hours, I said, we've got to go in. And so we set a sheet on the floor and brought all the rest of the catnip in that hadn't been bundled. And the cats did immediately come forth. But in my experience, because I would give them some of the catnip quite often, they lose interest after about 30 minutes.
Don't they lose interest in everything within 30 minutes, no matter what it is?
Well, maybe so, but they'll ignore it. Like if you give them a little bit, they ignore it after about 30 minutes. It's just leaves on the floor. So, but I left. I got everything bundled, and then there was some sitting on there, and I said the rest is for you guys, and they didn't touch it. So anyway.
On the Monday Reason Together show, you held up a big bundle. You did, or John did, or whatever. We saw you walking with it, and I segmented the Monday Reason show, and there is a segment out there right now called I Voted 33 Times, and during that segment is John holding up all the catnip. But really, as far as drawing cats, this is as close as I come to drawing cats.
Okay. Hey, that's actually a pretty good rendering of a cat, Mark. I'm impressed. A happy cat, too. You drew a happy cat because his tail was in the air.
Yeah.
Which catnip doth happy cats make. But if you guys are ever in a bind, because catnip does grow in some places, it's hardy, it's perennial. And as I was reading up on it, there were some people that said, well, there's catnip in the field, etc. And they made the point that you can go harvest it if you need it. I mean, if things do happen, we need to be maybe using it for medicinal purposes. I also read something that a lady was having trouble with cats getting in her garden or doing something. I don't remember specifically. So she went to the field next door to her house, pulled up the weeds, put down some catnip seeds or whatever. And this was a couple years before. She hasn't had cat problems since then. Just a tale of catnip and cats. There you go. Well, I know, Sherry, what do you have to say? Anything on catnip?
Well, in there, don't they have a caution of toxicity for humans? Like if you drink a bunch of catnip tea. It can have headaches and stomach upset, stuff like that.
They're talking if you would drink like about this much dried tea, maybe at once.
Mm.
Think about that. Who does that? But wouldn't you get a little toxic over anything that you had in a massive quantity? Yeah. So, but I mean, there's always cautions, but just it actually, and everything that I said, there hasn't been a lot of, there's not a lot of cautions on catnip at all. The only cautions that I even said today, they just said there's not really a lot of studies, but since there isn't studies, just be aware. So yeah. I just found it interesting that in England, it was the tea of choice back in the day. Who would have thought?
Well, kind of, you said it's a sedative. So, like after you eat a lunch and you get all that protein in you and everything, and they're really not wanting to do anything but kick back a little while. They drink a little catnip tea, and then they're like, hey, that was a good lunch.
Oh, there you go.
I might just keep with my chamomile tea. Peter Rabbit got that when he was all nervous. So,
well, I have some chamomile. I have some chamomile that I've been growing, but it did not grow much at all this year. So couldn't harvest it. It's actually, I picked it up, pulled it from my soil. It's sitting in my guest room on a shelf, but it did not grow. I don't even think it grew 3 inches this year.
Wow.
It must not like this place. So.
It was not happy because
maybe it was the catnip and the chamomile fighting in the catnip.
There you go. That's what it is right there.
That could be it, but it was in a different garden. So
6 to 1, 9/10 of 3/30 seconds.
Oh my. Well, guess what? It's time to get off catnip. I think we've exhausted catnip.
We are richly blessed to bring you what we believe is the fullest, most diverse, yet up-to-date progressive teachings, discussion, and prayer programming you can find anywhere on this planet. Be sure to take the tour of the MessianicLambRadio.com website. I'm Susan Hoogie, thanking you for joining us on the Messianic Lamb Video Network.
Listening to Messianic Lamb Radio.
Don't go away. Your show will start after a brief pause.